Hello everyone and welcome back to another Path of Exile video. Today I'll talk you through the best way to progress your entire atlas in solo self-found. Before we get started quickly, these are the most useful tips that worked for myself. So if there's anything you think that I've particularly missed, let me know in the comments below. Now, progressing and completing the atlas in SSF can be tricky, especially for newer players. But there are a few things that you can take advantage of to make it easier on yourself. As you already know, the biggest downside is that you cannot buy maps, therefore you need to use everything else at your disposal. By far the hardest thing to complete on the atlas are the unique maps, because they're much more rare to drop compared to normal, magic or rare maps, and there's much less Kirac reports and missions for unique maps. Therefore, before I get into the mechanics around the atlas, I would suggest to prioritise completing unique maps as much as you can when initially going through the atlas. Never skip a unique map if you haven't already completed it. The only thing that can guarantee you a unique map within your Kirac missions is a singular Kirac report that re-rolls all of your Kirac missions to include at least one unique map, but even then that doesn't guarantee you one that you haven't already completed. As you can see, I myself am 3 maps away from a fully finished atlas, and that's purely because of RNG. I have farmed Kirac missions in the hundreds. I have used every single Kirac report hoping to re-roll into one of the 3 incomplete unique maps, and I have spent many days prioritising getting these done, but still no luck, which is exactly why I'm making this video, so hopefully you don't end up like me. Okay, but what are the actual important mechanics that you need to know of? There are natural tiers, Kirac scouting reports, missions, trade inventory, and Orbs of Horizon. Firstly, natural tiers are the foundation and original tiers of a map. Each map is set to a certain original tier, either white, yellow or red. These map tiers can be upgraded using void stones, and that's where some people sometimes get confused because they see, for example, a dunes map that says it's yellow tier 9 because I have 2 void stones equipped, and while that may be true, it certainly won't count towards completing the atlas objective, because the true and natural tier of dunes is white tier 2, and that's the way it has to be for completing the atlas objective for the first time. Once it's done, it no longer matters, but it's important that you are aware of this, so just make sure you have no void stones equipped or any other atlas modifiers. Moving on to Kirac reports, they allow you to re-roll Kirac missions, and there are a few different types of reports that re-roll different things. At different stages of your atlas, you're going to be needing different reports, so make sure that you pick up every single report you see and save them only for when you absolutely need to use them. Trust me, they are a lifesaver when you're out of options. Make sure that you're fully specced into the Kirac missions on the atlas tree so that you can get different types of reports and so that they drop more often. So for example, if you're at the stage of trying to complete corrupted red tier maps, using a Val scouting report will make this extremely easy because it will re-roll all of your Kirac missions into corrupted maps where possible. So use each type of scouting report to your advantage at the right time. However, you don't always have to use a specific scouting report for every situation. For example, if all you need are unique maps, such as myself, then you're probably going to want to use every single scouting report at your disposal and pray that you get a unique map mission, since there is only one report that will re-roll your missions to unique maps, and that report may not drop often. During this method of re-rolling Kirac missions, you might come across another problem, and that is running out of Kirac missions completely, but don't worry, because there is a true and tested method for that too. You're going to want to use the boss Russian method and run as many maps of the tier as you need. See, you have a chance to get a Kirac mission upon killing the boss of a map. This will be easier in white and yellow tier maps since the bosses are much weaker, but if you have a build that can run tier 16 maps, then you won't have a problem doing this in any tier map. Make sure that you are once again fully specced into Kirac on the atlas tree so that you have a higher chance of receiving Kirac missions upon finishing a map, and then simply boss rush maps for maybe an hour or so and you'll receive multiple missions. After testing this for a few days in a row, I was averaging 1 or 2 Kirac missions every 10 or so maps, and I could complete a map per minute if I knew where the boss would roughly be, along with a silver flask and a movement ability such as flame dash, shield charge or whirling blades. Moving on then. Kirac's trade inventory allows you to buy maps from Kirac, and these reset every time you complete a mission, so each time you do, make sure to check his inventory because there may be an incomplete map that you could run without using a Kirac mission. Finally, I wanted to quickly mention Orbs of Horizon because they're mostly overlooked but can be quite beneficial in the early Atlas progression. Orbs of Horizon simply allow you to change your map to another map of the same tier, and although this is the least reliable method for finding incomplete maps, you'll often find that if you use these during the early stages of your Atlas progression, you'll more often than not receive a map that you haven't completed yet. Of course, this can't be said for when you have quite a good chunk of the Atlas completed, because you will most likely receive maps you've already done, but I wanted to put it out there because I never see people mention this sort of method. And those were my top tips on progressing the Atlas in SSF for players at any level. It's going to take time, so try not to get disencouraged if you feel stuck. Sometimes it's best to leave it for a bit if you feel like you're hitting a wall, whether that may be because you're all out of missions, reports, or like myself you just cannot find a couple maps to save your life. Set the goal of finishing the Atlas aside and do something else. As long as you're playing, things will naturally progress themselves. Basically, just don't be tunnel visioned. Keep changing things up. There's no rush, the league lasts for at least 3 months and sometimes longer, so keep my tips in mind and I'm sure you will complete the Atlas. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, night or day, and I'll see you around.